Okay. Let's talk about Salem. Okay, so before we really get too far into it, everything I'm going to talk about on my blog today, I put like in a compressed file for you guys on my Etsy store. It's literally only $4, and it's like has so much information. It has restaurants, prices, extra tips, where to park, food. I don't know if I already said that. It has like walking distance. It has like everything you could need for an itinerary to Salem. So check that out. I'll link it below because that's going to be very useful to you as we go through this. Okay, so to get into it, Salem was amazing. I absolutely loved it. It was rainy on the day we went, but honestly, I think that was for the best because it wasn't as crowded. Like, there was still definitely a crowd, but it was the week before Halloween, or like the weekend before Halloween, I guess. 2 weekends before Halloween? I don't know. And I was afraid that it was going to be packed because that's what I've heard, that like it gets severely packed. And there definitely was a lot of people, but we got there pretty early and it was raining, so we actually got into all of our stores at like a reasonable time. So to kind of get into that, we need to talk about reservations. Reservations are a must if you're going to Salem. Thankfully, my sister took care of all this, so I didn't have to worry about doing this on my own. But if you want reservations to get into any of the museums or the houses or anything like that, you need reservations because you can't just walk in. At least in October, you can't. So usually they don't have reservations open until the like day of. So either midnight or whatever. Some of them have different times. But if you want to get like tickets into the witch house, for example, you need reservations. So not only do you want reservations to see things around Salem, but you also want reservations to eat, because when you're hungry and you get hangry, the worst thing that could happen is you can't get in to eat anywhere because it's so packed and crowded. So a lot of restaurants don't even take reservations in Salem. It's like first come, first serve, which we didn't go to any of those because we didn't want to wait for any food. So my sister made reservations in advance, and you have to make them quite a bit in advance, like at least a month in advance. And we made it at the Ledger's restaurant, I believe. And it was super easy. We walked right in and got a table. So I would definitely recommend like doing that now before you forget about it, and then you're on your trip and you're hungry and you have to wait 2 hours to get food. So for food, we only went to the Ledger's restaurant and we went to Goodnight Fatty, which is like a dessert like cookie place. It was so good. I definitely recommend going there, and it was super cheap, and there was not a single line, which I thought we would have been waiting for. Like, we just walked right in, and it was like 2 p.m., which is usually like their prime. So definitely recommend Goodnight Fatty. I know there's a lot of TikTok famous restaurants and cafes. I personally want to recommend going to those just because even when we did get there early, walking past those, there was like lines around the building. So unless you want to stand in that, that's your preference, but we did not. So in Salem, you'll see all around as you're walking, there's like this yellow line, and that's like the Salem Historic line, I believe. And it brings you to like a bunch of different places, like the cemetery, the witch houses, the village. Like, it shows you a lot of different areas in Salem that you, unless you did your research beforehand, you probably wouldn't have known. So I definitely recommend starting out in the yellow line and kind of following that if you are kind of just winging it and going in for the day or so. The Hocus Pocus locations. I know not everybody is into Hocus Pocus, but my sister is an avid fan, and she wanted to see all the Hocus Pocus like film sets. So there's 3 places that we went to. We went to the Ropes Mansion or Ropes Museum, one of the two, and this is where the girl in it lived. I forget her name. I'll have to look it up. And then we went to Thackeray Binks' house and like the witch's cottage thing that was in the Salem like village, the Pioneer Village. That was pretty cool. It was like pouring when we went, but it was honestly like eerie, and it was just cool to see where it was all filmed. And then the last place we went to was Danny and Max's house, which is actually a real person's house now. So if you go, just like don't like crowd around. I would say maybe take pictures from like across the street or so if you want to. Other than that though, like those were the only 3 that we went to. I'm not sure if there's more, I'll have to look it up. But yeah, those were the 3 that we went to, and my sister loved it, so you gotta do what you gotta do. So if you are a Hocus Pocus fan, definitely check out those 3 things. One of them is right in Salem, and the other 2 are like side by side, so you just have to like drive or walk to either one of those, and you can walk easily to the other place. So if you want to know any other tips and tricks that helped us have a very successful and budget-friendly Salem trip, because my sister spent a ton of time like researching and figuring out the best ways to save our money, of course, check out my Etsy product, because that has all the tips you're gonna need. And I'm telling you, like, if you follow what's on my itinerary, you could end up paying $2 for a parking spot all day long like we did, or you could pay $50 for a parking spot like a lot of the other people in Salem did. So you just have to kind of know and research the area. If you don't want to do the research on your own, literally $4 below. Check it out, let me know what you think. And if you're going to Salem on Halloween or after, I'm sure it's gonna be awesome, so let me know how it goes. And if you don't want crowds, go to Salem in the summer, because I heard it's super easy then and nobody's around, but you still get the Salem experience. So yeah, have fun, and thanks for tuning into my vlog.